I think it's time to hear a couple more stories. So it's a great pleasure to introduce Miriam Egwalu. She arrived here from Uganda in 1996, and she's the mother of 3 girls. She's very passionate about the care, nutrition, and upbringing of children. And she works at a pharmaceutical firm that specializes in natural vitamins and minerals as a senior quality assurance inspector. But after visiting her village in Northern Uganda in 2005, for the first time since settling in Canada, she saw many mothers and grandmothers taking care of young children with no resources and much adversity, and she has found a way to help. Miriam?
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, everyone, for having me. As Margaret said, my first time to go to Uganda was in 2005 after migrating here in Canada, and I didn't know exactly what was happening down there. I used to make phone calls to my parents and send money, as you had, every once in a month I would send $100 or $200, whatever I could do. And I thought maybe it was just my family that had problems. So in 2005, when I went there, I went with a colleague of mine, and we collected vitamins, chewables, vitamin C, just to give to the kids and, and see how the place was. And to my surprise, we found that the northern part of that country had been ravaged by war. There was a 25-year war. I think it was rebel kind of warfare, and most of the men either had joined the war or had moved to the cities so that they don't get captured by these rebels, or had died in the war. And the population was mainly young women with kids, grandmothers taking care of their grandchildren, and very old men who obviously couldn't do much. And I didn't know what to do. So in my heart, I just wept within myself, because this is a place where I come from. This is my motherland. And to see that most of the young men were not there, and the mothers are taking care of 3, 4, 5, some even up to 10 kids. So we came back, and I had this, thinking of what can I do to help at least these mothers. In 2009, unfortunately, my mom passed away in March, and I had to travel to Uganda again for the burial. And in the Ugandan custom, when an elder person passes away, there's lots of people who come, about hundreds and hundreds. And again, I saw the same demography: young women, older women, old men. The young men were not there. So I just called aside one of the ladies, an elderly woman. She was around 65. And I asked her, I said, what's happening? Where are the men? And she said most of the men had moved to the cities to look for work, and they never came back. And some have died, and some joined the war, and, there were really no young men around. And then I asked, I said, okay, how are you taking care of your family? How are you feeding your children? She said, well, we get by. That's what she said. She told me, we get by. And some of her kids were in school, some are not in school. So I said, what can I help you with? And she said, at my age, I can't go to the garden and dig and get some food from the garden. And that's why some of my children have to stay home to help me to get some of this food. If you have some little money, like 200,000 Uganda shillings, which is equivalent to $100 Canadian, I could start a small store by the side of the road, and maybe some people could come and buy my produce or whatever I sell. And it sounded like a joke to me. So I said, okay, if that's what can help you, I'll give you this money. But I didn't believe her that the $100 could make her be sustainable and take care of her family. So I gave her that money, and after the burial, I had to come back to Canada. This year again, in April, we have always, after 1 year, we do the ceremony of life. That's what we had to do for my mom, and I also needed to see my dad, because after being a widower, I wanted to know how he was doing. When I arrived in the same area, the same village where I was, the first person to come and hug me was this lady. Her name was Angela. She's one of my relatives. she was beaming, she was happy, and she just told me that, thank you so much. The money that you gave me, I've opened a store, I can show you the store, and also I now have a sewing machine that I use, and I make clothes for the women and the kids, those who want to stitch their clothes. She was there now, like the seamstress. She was the only one seamstress who was there. And I said, okay, that's very nice. Can I go and see your store then? So she showed me the store, and then we came back. I went with my daughter. She's 12 years now. She was 11 then. When I left in March, she was 11. She has turned 12. When she saw the kids around, and because of the stories she hears from what I tell her, I have some videos from Uganda and things that kids there do in Uganda. She wanted to know what kids in Uganda do. And I said, okay, there was a school nearby. It's called, what is the name of the school? Panduong. That is in the local language. So I just said, okay, let's go to the school and you see how kids, they go to school. On the way, as we were going, there was one girl just walking ahead of us, and she had a ripped uniform. She had a uniform, but it was ripped and with stitches everywhere. And she, being a Canadian who had never been to, this third world countries, she did know that people could put on ripped clothes and still walk around with them. I said, why is she dressed like that? I said, she's putting on a uniform. I said, why is her uniform ripped? I said, well, maybe she can't afford it. So we went into the school, into the class. We went and asked one of the teachers, the head teacher, to show us one of the classrooms. That was, we call it primary 6, which is grade 6. That was the class she was in. We went into the class, and as Mr. Amos was saying, they were sitting down on the dirt floor, reading books and writing down on there was no desk, and most of them had very old uniforms. Maybe they had it for like 2-3 years in a row. And my daughter said, Mom, I have $25. Can I give it to that girl so that she can buy a uniform? And I said, sure, why not? So she opened her purse, she gave the money to the girl and said, change it and buy yourself a uniform. So when we were coming, she told me that, Mom, I want to help these children. I want to keep buying uniform for one child every month. If $25 can buy a uniform, I'm going to buy a uniform for a child every month. I'm going to go back and do my babysitting and walk dogs. If I can get $25, I'm going to send it. Yeah, she walks dogs. Yeah. So we came back, and I got so inspired by what she had told me. And I told her, if you're going to give $25, I will give $25 on top of that, so that we can, instead of one child a month having a uniform, we're going to have 2 kids a month have a uniform. So that from March of this year, that's what we have been doing. We save $50, and after about 2-3 months, we send it over to the head teacher, and they, pinpoint the kids who don't have uniform, and they get for them uniform. And the lady who became a seamstress is now the one making uniform for these kids. So since I left and up to now, they confirmed that about 16 kids now have new school uniforms. And because of this, I now pledge that me personally, I will help at least 1 or 2 women a year come out of poverty and at least take care of their kids. If $100 can help one family, why can't I help them with 2? And also, if I can help kids get into school, because like in Uganda, there is free elementary schooling for all from grade 1 to 7. It's free in public schools. But if a child doesn't have uniform, they are not allowed in the classrooms. So that is it's like a catch-22. Either you have the money to go to school or you have the uniform. And in most cases, the kids don't have the uniform. And you find sometimes 3-4 kids are not in class because of uniform. And yet they can go and study free. And therefore, I'm just pledging to all who can help, like organizations who can help, so that we can dress up kids and they don't fall out of school, because this is the main thing that makes kids fall out from elementary classes, like from the ages of 6 to 12. these kids can be in class free as long as they're dressed up in school uniforms. So if I could have some help and have all the kids in Uganda be dressed up in school uniforms so that they can get this basic education that they need. And also if we can help mothers, especially the mothers, the single mothers who have 3, 4 kids and they don't have anything to bring up their children with. If they can start an income generating project, anything, whether it's a small store, whether it's goats, well, I don't see any goats making any profit in Uganda, but that's what I hear. Like there's some companies that say that, well, you can give 2 goats for a family. Maybe it does help in other countries, but Uganda, I don't see that happening. But most women just want something small to bring up their children, especially when they don't have any help from their spouses. Thank you very much.